Reno from just east of the airport as we start vlog 235. You can see the Grand Sierra Resort in that video, where I was at the end of the last vlog to watch The Offspring. And I have a few thoughts on that show that I'm going to save till the end of the vlog. But poker-wise, I just had something happen to me that I can't ever remember happening before. But it happened when we got a couple of limps. And I am on the button with kings. In 0510, I make it 50. And sure enough, both these limpers call. So with 155 in, we get a board that comes out ace 8-3 rainbow. And the hijack, who I've described before as kind of an OWC, leads out into me for 75. So obviously she has an ace here. There's no question about that. But I also know that she's not going to want to go broke without having at least ace-king in this spot. And since I have two blockers to ace-king, I thought I could potentially turn my kings into a bluff and represent it here. So I make it 225 and the other limper folds, and it's back to her, and she snap calls. I actually took this snap calling hopefully as a sign of wanting to project strength that may not necessarily be there, in the hopes that I will not continue to bluff her. Turn comes a 10, and she chucks it over to me. With only just a little more than one pot size bet remaining, I go for it here. I jam all in for 600. And she immediately makes it clear that she does not like the fact that I've done this, which is obviously what I expected. However, and this is the amazing part of this hand, what I didn't expect, she folds ace-king face up. So it obviously works out amazingly well for me in a spot where my opponent actually does have the hand that I'm representing, but folds it anyway. So suffice it to say, things are continuing to go well for me. Vlog 235, we're here at Peppermill. It is a Thursday. My winning streak has been snapped, and I have no one to blame for it but myself. I decided to, in the session I played yesterday, run basically a 3-barrel bluff against Michigan Bill, a prototypical OMC, in a spot where it was the rare instance in which a bluff fails, where he actually had a weaker hand than I thought. Usually when that happens, the bluff succeeds in my experience. But I basically just 3-bet ace-king pre-flop, got a 6-high flop, and fired 2 big streets with it, and he just called me down with pocket 10s in a spot where once he had done that, I thought he had to have better than 10s. So one of the last places I would have preferred that money to go, but sometimes that's how it works. Recording this intro about a half an hour after sitting down in a short-handed game on table 1, and I'm already down 250 bucks, getting 2-outed on the river against a guy that looks like he belongs in the show Duck Dynasty, who decided to fire out into me with middle pair when I had top pair. We had the same kicker, so he's 2-outer on the river, was profitable for him, and I'm starting in the hole, looking to make another streak happen. I'd get stuck early on this day after I jumped into the 7th seat on table 1, in 0510 No Limit Hold'em with The Rock.
The Rock has become a tourist attraction.
I would win a little back raising ace-queen and flopping an ace, but as tends to happen in those situations, no post-flop action will be given to me. Under the gun limps, and I have pocket 9s plus 1 8-handed and make it 40. Hijack calls and the big blind comes in. Limper completes as well. So with 160 in, we're 4 ways to 8-5-7 rainbow, and the big blind leads out for 75. Under the gun calls that bet, and it was a decision between calling and raising for me. The big blind is clearly the player in this lineup that I want to be getting involved in hands with, so I don't love the idea of just blowing him out of the pot here if he just has a hand like an 8. So that is why I decided to just call with the hijack going out. And with 385 in, the turn is a jack, adding to my straight draw. Big blind now decides to just check, as does plus 1. I bet 85 here purely for some thin value. Sure enough, just as I suspected, the big blind calls with the other player going out. Pretty much what I was hoping for. And with 555 in, the river is a 6, giving me a straight, and that's the good news. The great news, however, is that he chooses at this moment to jam all in for his last $250. I can tell you that if the river had come a blank and he had still done the same thing, I definitely would have called with pocket nines in this spot. This just made it a lot easier. We have a $1,055 pot. He shows ace 8. Kind of a bizarre move for that hand in that spot, but the pot gets shipped over to me. I did win a little more when action checked all the way around twice in a 4-way pot, and I had pocket 5s. And despite a one-liner to a wheel on the board, my $50 value bet got paid off when I rivered a set. Then I make it 40 with ace queen from the hijack and get 3 callers. With 160 in, the flop is queen 10 jack, all hearts, giving me top pair, top kicker. While I'm thinking about what to do, a heavily bearded gentleman in seat 1 leads out in the big blind for 60, and it folds to me. Without a heart in my hand, I thought it best to just exercise some pot control here and not raise it with top pair, top kicker. Cutoff folds, and with 280 in, the turn's an offsuit 6, and now he bets again, this time for 125. Hoping I'd be able to make sense of this hand on the river, I call once again, and with 530 in, that card is an offsuit 9, and now he bets 250. Bart Hansen on the Crush Live Poker Podcast often talks about these spots as Fifth Street chicken, the concept of how people will often bet the first 2 streets, but give up on the river when the stakes get big. This player also knows that I just saw him donk lead with middle pair in the hand I didn't get on camera that I mentioned before he 2-outed the river. And in my experience, when players know that you know that they will do that, they're likely to have it, quote unquote, the next time something like this happens. So I fold the hand and move on, having to hope that I made the right decision. Is this like a Halloween, this has got to be like a precursor to Halloween. This is not the main entree. This is the Halloween appetizer. Am I correct?
Absolutely. We always got to warm up the crowd before I do the big reveal.
Mm-hmm. And that is coming on next week, or is that on Halloween Day itself?
I will be here on Halloween Day, but each day keeps increasingly gets better.
All right, wait till you see the run out in this next hand. Pocket 6s. MP2 and a 4-way limped pot. So with 40 in, we get a flop of ace 7-6 2 spades, giving me bottom set. I go for the check raise here, and sure enough, the cutoff bets out for 15 with the big blind calling. I just make it 50 here, looking to build the pot up, hoping to get both these players involved. The button wastes no time before calling, but the big blind just goes out right now. So with 155 in, the turn is the ace of spades, filling me up and bringing in the front door spade draw. I just bet out for 100 here, assuming that if he has an ace or a flush, that I will be able to bet full pot on the river and get called. And sure enough, he does call the 100. So with 355 in, the river is another ace. So my boat is counterfeited. Though when thinking about it, it still felt pretty likely that I was going to be good here a lot, because it's going to be tough for him to have quads too often. And maybe he's capable of turning a flush into a bluff in this spot. Maybe he's capable of value betting a weaker hand in some weird fashion. So it seemed like a good spot to check and evaluate from that point. So that's what I do. I check, and he instantly checks back, showing deuce 4 of spades for the flush, in a spot where a terrible river card kills my action completely. There's also a Thursday full house of the hour bonus going on at Peppermill, and I really thought aces full of 6s had a decent chance to win because it only has to hold up for 1 hour, and literally at 12:59 p.m., someone else makes aces full of 9s. Damn. I'd then flop a pair of 7s and a 9-high flush draw, and I would lose $200 when my opponent flopped a bigger pair and turned a bigger flush draw. And just like that, what was looking like it had the chance to be a really good day was already an average day at best. I would then 3-bet ace-king suited and would lose to the ace-10 suited of the man responsible for the existence of a slightly better soccer player than me. All right, Brian, your dad's domination of me knows no bounds. I make it 125 with ace-king suited, and he takes forever before calling with ace-10. And another guy calls as well. He ends up making the absolute nuts with ace-10 of diamonds, and the other guy just picks that time to go all in. So even when I'm not donating to him, your dad is owning poker when I'm involved.
One thing comes to mind. Have you not learned your lesson?
This is a mid-session update. I can just tell that Brian is torn. He wants me to beat his dad, Joe, out of general principle, but he also enjoys how funny it is that no matter what Joe does, he's incapable of losing a hand to me. And this was a pretty irrelevant mid-session update. +1 limps, and I have pocket kings. MP2 will make it 40. This ends up a heads-up pot, so with 95 in, it comes out queen, 7-4, all diamonds, and he checks. Without a diamond in my hand, I bet 50 here, and he check calls me. So with 195 in, the turn is an offsuit 8. This time I bet 100, and for the second time, a check call occurs. So with 395 in, the river is an offsuit 3. Pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. He checks. I bet 135, never thinking that he has a very strong kicker here. He hems and haws for quite a while, but eventually settles on a call, creating a $665 pot. I show my hand, and he mucks. People may not believe me when I say I knew exactly what my opponent has in this next hand, but only because I know him so well, I knew real quick. He limps early position, and another player calls. I have pocket aces, middle position 2, and make it 50. Folds back around to the limper, who limp raises to 110. The player on his left actually calls that raise, and then I 4-bet to 260. The reason I settled on that smaller sizing was because A, this player who just raised me doesn't give me action with anything. He's very capable of folding queens in this spot to that raise, though it's not a guarantee. And B, the player who called the 110 on his left is the guy that I really want in this hand. So I think my sizing was pretty much perfect in that spot. Without even looking, though, to see how much money he would stand to win or lose in this pot, this player who had 3-bet me decides to 5-bet jam all in. Other guy goes out, and we have a $3,600 pot. I show my cards, hoping that he will also show his, which remains one thing I like better about tournaments, that you are forced to show in all-in situations. I think it's just better for the game as a whole, and I think the other players paying to play with the rake that's out there deserve to see what the hell is going on. But that's just me. After the flop runs out, I was pretty convinced I knew where I was at. Then when a king hit the turn, I knew against this opponent, there was a 0% chance that I was going to win this entire pot. It was a loss or a chop, and as I expected, he shows the other 2 aces, for whatever reason, waiting until the river to do so. A lot of vlog firsts the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure if aces against aces for me has happened on the vlog before, but I don't remember it. The game on table 1 was not particularly great. The game that was developing on table 5, however, looked like it had the makings of a really interesting lineup. So I would table change over there at 3 o'clock because the lineup at that point looked good. But by 4 o'clock, 2 of the guys who I was expecting to give action busted out, and 2 others racked up and booked wins after only about 90-minute sessions. So I'd managed to table change into a game that would break, and over the course of the 90 minutes I was in that game, I never won a single pot worth more than $20. But I would manage to lose like 6 spots. And just to cap it off, because I know you all wanted to know this, my last hand of the day came when I was in the rock, and sure enough, looked down at 8 deuce. So that session would wrap up in a very anticlimactic and disappointing fashion, but it was still a win. All right, wrapping it up. A lot of cameos today from viewers of the vlog. Justin from Alabama, my man, the music trivia master, and his wife Chantel, and one other. Somehow only a $415 win. I managed to lose like 8 small pots in the final 2 hours, none of which were even worth showing on the vlog, to negate what should have been a much better day and what's only just a small win. But hey, sometimes better than big losses. In fact, I'd go as far as to say small wins are always better than big losses. I am making bold statements today. All right, a couple of things to do here. I got to give my take on the offspring, and I have an extra special, unique edition of Slick Central to bring you, coming up momentarily after I give you one final reminder to book your stay for the PEPPERMILL Poker Palooza. You saw the trophies. They are absolutely epic. There's already $750,000 up for grabs in guaranteed money. And now, as you heard Mike Nelson talk about on our interview that is still up on this channel, you can now make extra money and get an extra big-ass trophy by being the player of the series. Something that I kind of thought they should have had in the past. They listened to that idea. They made it happen. And there's plenty of money up for grabs in the goal to be that player of the series. The all-around champion winning at $15,000 in the top 10, all in the money in that pursuit. Main event, $300,000 guarantee. And the field for that main event, I can basically guarantee you will be softer than what you find in World Series of Poker tournaments, in those series down at the Wynn, and pretty much any Vegas tournament series. So those are your advantages. You know it's going to be the most fun tournament series going on, dating back to its roots as Run It Up Reno. So book your stay and get 20% off that stay by using promo code bendeach3. Click the link in the description below. As for the date to actually get in the cash games and try and take my money, which may not be that hard, you can get in here on Friday, November 10th. That is going to be the date. I'm not calling it an official meetup game like I have in the past, but that's going to be the day where I really jump in there during the Poker Palooza, shoot a vlog, try to get as many cameos by those of you who are here for the Palooza into the vlog as possible. So mark that day on your calendar, the 10th of November, in the main poker room for cash game action as well. All right, so the 2 other things, the offspring. It's one of those things where you can love something and be disappointed at the same time. I have always loved the offspring going back to the 90s. They had kind of like 2 warm-up albums. And after that, everything they put out has been just money, if you ask me. But I don't understand. Green Day kind of did the same thing at the last concert I saw them at. And Offspring did it here, and that is they basically neglected their new stuff. They went all old school. Now, some of you will find that as a selling point, but I tend to like the new stuff when it comes to my favorite bands. So the fact they didn't do anything off the new album, and they only did 14 songs total. Fall Out Boy did double that when I saw them in St. Louis back this summer. So a little bit disappointed. Didn't think they gave us quite enough. But you know who has given us quite enough over the years? When it comes to shenanigans, when it comes to action, when it comes to banter in the poker room, is Mr. C, a.k.a. Slick. Now, I don't know what the hell's happened to Slick. We haven't seen him in over a month now. He has not been making any appearances. Maybe it's because I haven't been talking about him enough. Maybe it's because I haven't been showcasing him on this vlog enough. So in a special edition of Slick Central, I want to look at some of Slick's greatest hits to wrap up this vlog.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That's slow. Go. Time.
Because he's been a staple in the game for so many years. There was the time where he realized he had successfully middled a pair of football bets.
Baby, this
He missed! Oh, he missed! He missed, Gabby! He missed! That's fucking unreal. What a great game. Dream come true. This is a wonderful game, though, was it? This is a
There was the time he was extremely honest about what he wanted in a hand.
Call. I want all of you to call. Call, 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 call. Call, call, call. Oh, no. Wow. Kicker!
You always have that hand.
Or the time that he lost a pot but tried to convince the dealer that it was a chop.
Yeah, give me
Here we go, here we go.
10 tech Fireball.
Oh, nice hand.
I missed.
Shit! Oh, split pot!
There was the time his stack looked like this. And the time where Slick was given a 15-yard penalty for taunting.
Give me your fucking money! Give me your money, baby!
Oh, shit.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're going off the top, and guess what? Give me your
Easy.
shit.
Hey, come on, you won. You won. Easy.
Hope to see you back here soon, Slick. It's just not the same without you. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the vlog. Hit the like and subscribe buttons as it really helps out this channel, and I genuinely appreciate it. And I will see you back here next time.
I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty. I have a sense of urgency, a message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I